Sheldan Nidle, July 14, 2015. 13 men, 13 Kumku. 11 Ik. Selamat Jalwa. Be an everlasting joy. We come on this day with more news about what is happening around you. The complex process of establishing a new financial system is moving forward at its own pace. The BRICS Development Bank is operating and is open for business, as is the Chinese AIIB. These are just the beginnings of what is to come. The operations required to set up a Global Currency Revaluation (GCR) are likewise being readied for its unveiling. A necessary preliminary is the delivery of worldwide prosperity funds. This process is now being discussed by our earthly associates and by us. It is scheduled to begin once a number of initial humanitarian funds are successfully disbursed. This procedure is moving along nicely and we expect you to see some results shortly. In addition, we are presently devising a way by which we can intervene when it is required. We have already secretly followed a number of fund transfers and discovered how we can, if required, assure successful deliveries. The cabal has, in fact, reached the end of its time to further delay the outcome expected by heaven. These first steps toward prosperity and new governments are essential to the overall plan adopted a few months ago by our earthly allies and us. This operation is truly to threaten the illegal and hidden ways by which this global financial system operates. The slow way of reforming this old and highly manipulated financial system cannot be tolerated. We are currently reviewing and discussing a series of ways to trump the cabal and put the new system in place. The cabal scheduled a number of meetings to partially ameliorate some of the present system's faults. This added patchwork remains unacceptable. It is therefore necessary to explore how this dead-ridden system can be replaced. The American de facto regime is adamant in somehow bolstering this criminal system and using its power to scare off potential opponents. This position is weakening as this seemingly blind regime stares at its near future and sees just how catastrophic this inane policy really is. There is now a movement to sweep this horrendous regime out of the way. As you can see, we are beginning to take a more active role. Our earthly allies have maintained an attitude that this revolution was strictly up to them. This quiet revolution is happening because we have prevented the cabal from instituting a global crackdown on the resistance forces. This has permitted many in the Lights Coalition to proceed with a number of affidavits, which made possible the actions that are only just beginning to manifest. Our position at all times is to represent the greater good. The alliance with our earthly families and various dedicated individuals has been peppered with a kind of factionalism that is permeated by a need for limits in how our earthly allies approach each issue. Up till now, we have maintained a relatively neutral position as to how we proceed. We have been instructed by heaven to set up some deadlines. This we intend to do. A number of deliveries are occurring. We intend to see them successfully delivered. It has taken too long for a proper timetable to be duly executed by all. Our purpose is to do what is necessary to move quickly toward the main landing scenario. Last time, we briefly discussed some of your ancient history. Initially, this was a standard Galactic Federation colonial procedure. We harmonized the global ecology, established an inner Earth residence and were preparing to move the human population to this newly completed inner Earth realm. The difference was to be the Atlanteans. The star nations of the Pleiades were long the center for many stages of the Galactic Wars. Another was in the belt of Orion. The larger skirmishes occurred in these two places. Many of the original Atlantean colonists were those who adopted a strange method for resolving certain issues with the Dark Antarians. They sort of cooperated with the Dark. This methodology was to greatly conflict with a plan devised by our global councils. This came to a head when Atlantis decided to claim dominance of the surface realms. This sudden unwarranted attack forced the global councils to abandon the migration to inner Earth. Thus, you have been resigned to live in this awkward position of adapting to the nuances of these surface realms. Namaste. We are your ascended masters. We come to you at the end of a great grace-filled battle among those who wish to alter the very essence of this now dark realm. There has been much discussion on what the order is to be regarding the introduction of the main prosperity funds. Added to this is the timing of the so-called RV funds, primarily from Iraq and Vietnam. These various strategies were reviewed and a result was reached. This process is to be revealed in the coming weeks. We are awaiting in joy to see the results of these actions. Our space brethren are now more than ever willing to assist us in setting times for these events. We intend to use your wondrous positive focus to assure that these most needed events truly happen according to this new timetable. We are blessed and are most happy that heaven has continued to move these grand prosperity packages toward their delivery to each of you. We as well thank all who have dedicated their lives to these most blessed events. In the early days of this present time, we watched the Anunnaki create the great flood and then slowly recede the waters. What was left was a terrible time in which most of humanity had perished. Those few who survived were slow to rebuild. The Anunnaki came in and began to instruct these survivors on how best to rebuild. Gone were the great networks by which humanity talked to each other and to the Anunnaki. A personal renewal was required. The Anunnaki came down and reiterated their ownership of humanity. We, the blessed ones, resisted. It was the start of many millennia of spiritual conflict. Gradually, our spiritual numbers increased. However, the dark and its many minions stayed dominant. We were told that our task was to guide and assuage humanity. A time was to arrive where the rising light was to be triumphant. This moment has at last come. We stand in this time and feel blessed by heaven. The world is beginning to change. Many signs make it apparent that this great change is blessedly near. Focus, dear ones, on this liberation. Forces are at work to change this globe. The torment of the dark persists. The light seems to you to be but a glimmer. In fact, it is a blessed lamp of the Almighty, which is to be turned on full. The things that are to ensure this are forming. The dark's time on this very special orb is ending. The moment for a grand intervention comes. This world has been split in two for too long. The moment for unification arrives. Both your space and spiritual families are here. They daily circle your globe. This is the blessed moment before the dark is flung away from you. This most gracious separation assures you your freedom and your prosperity. Hence be ready to rejoice and to feel this magnificent sense of freedom. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Today, we carried on with our brief review of what is happening on this world. The time comes for a grand change that is to push you, with love, into a new realm. Numerous events are still surreptitiously happening, which are to forever change this realm and reunite you with your family in inner Earth Agartha. Know, dear ones, that the countless supply and never-ending prosperity of heaven are indeed yours. So be it. Selamat Gajan. Selamat Jalwa. Syrian for B1. And be enjoy. Website, paoweb.com